Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I'm just going to talk about my experiences of the first Rejoin March, which took place in London yesterday. Nothing especially political here, just some random thoughts about the experience from my point of view, the equivalent of a sort of easy listening of political discussion. Then I'll be back on with the Westminster Clown Show in today's second video. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I've been talking about what's been going on in London for quite a while. But this is the first time I've actually been there for over 20 years. Couldn't help but smile when I was walking down Whitehall. Saw a Ukrainian flag. Flying, of course, because the government have instructed it. And I remember when we left the EU, the same people who've instructed that the Ukrainian flag flies prominently from the heart of our UK government complained that the Scottish Parliament voted to continue to fly the EU flag from the heart of the Scottish government. You know, and it's also the Council of Europe flag, of which we're still a proud member, so I don't really know what they're moaning about. But the people who take umbrage at the heart of Scotland's government flying the flag of the EU in friendship cheer the fact that we do the same for the UK government for a country whose secondary priority right now is to, with all haste, join the EU. They want to be fast-tracked into it. And this is the madness of the British politics after Brexit. No consistency, just contradictory ideology. But in terms of London itself, I really don't know how people live there. I mean, I know there's different strokes for different folks and all that, you know, and I like a sort of a quieter life. I'm a bit of a shut-in. Getting myself out to the shops requires some motivation on my part, let alone going to a metropolis. I mean, the underground in many respects is brilliant. Obviously, it's the only sensible way to get around such a metropolis, but it's so hot and noisy. I don't know how it doesn't drive the locals insane. My anxiety level's through the roof. People have asked me in the past if I've ever think about becoming an MP, and I've always sort of said, well, no, not really. I mean, I don't think I'd ever have the opportunity, and I'm not driven enough to want to go out of my way to track down the opportunity. But I've got another reason now. Oh my goodness, it's a madhouse. I'm not going there 3 days a week. My partner knew I was a little bit apprehensive. I calmed her down by saying, look, don't worry. It's a huge city. It's used to hosting tourists from all over the world. And I've at least got the advantage of being able to speak the language. It'll be fine. I'll have no problems. There I was on the tube. Announcement came up. Couldn't hear a thing because of the screeching of the carriage on the tracks as we descended into the fire pits of hell, drowning it all out. Someone saying, "Woo, what? What good was my prowess of the English language then?" And then, when I could hear something, the doors will open on the left. Which left? This left? Or this left? Seriously, there was me both. Oh, don't worry, at least I can speak the language. Totally useless. Did me no good at all. Then, got out of the underground, onto Whitehall, as I say. They've got the old red telephone boxes lining up. I think they're just there for people to take photos with. But I heard one father explaining them to his son. They're telephone boxes, he said. What's that, his son asked. Nice one. So not only am I hot and bothered by now, by all the rush and the crowds, I feel old as well. Thank you, London. Couldn't find a toilet either, or the ones I could find were locked up. Later on, I thought about going back to the telephone boxes because in my day, they weren't just used for phone calls. But I thought better of it. But all that aside, I would do it again. It's too important. I've learned some lessons. I'd be better prepared next time as well. But as for the march itself, I was keeping a bit of an eye on Twitter during the day. Didn't actually take as many photos as I thought I would be able to in the melee. But I was keeping an eye on Twitter and people were saying, well, there's no real coverage of this. And I saw a bit on an American outlet. Oddly enough, the Daily Express were covering it. In fact, the Daily Express seemed to have the best reporting of it. You know, they reported the police telling them that there were about 15,000 people there. Now, I'd go along with that from what I could see anyway. Obviously, it's not the million marches of 2019, but it's still a hell of a number. After 3 years of being dormant due to various things, not least COVID. And given that the event had to be postponed, it was supposed to happen last month, had to be postponed due to the Queen's death. So, you know, I looked this morning to see, well, where was it on the news? Couldn't find a thing on the BBC News. Now, usually if people say, oh, the BBC aren't covering this, you actually find they have. It may not be as prominently as you would like, but you usually find they actually have covered it. Couldn't find anything. Even with a Google search for BBC News Rejoin March. There was the Daily Express. How mad is that? That being said, BBC aside, it was also in others. It was in The Guardian, The Independent, The Evening Standard. I'm told Sky News had something. But I found more coverage in international news than the British media. And you think, well, of course, that's because there's more international media outlets than British ones. Which, yeah, but it's taking place in the heart of London, isn't it? So next time you hear some gammon saying that the establishment's against Brexit, they never really wanted it, ask them why the establishment media will feature Brexiteers on their shows on a daily basis, but they won't cover a march in London of thousands of anti-Brexiteers then. When you consider that this event was postponed, that it could have ended up being very poorly attended. I know the organisers were quite worried when it had to be postponed, and they had to put in so much more work to get this happening. And it was superb. It went very smoothly. It was organised by National Rejoin March, if people want to find them and follow them on social media. I mean, if you want to actually see any of the speeches, that's probably where it'll come up at some point. People have asked me before if I'm ever recognised, and I always say no. I'm large enough on YouTube to make this a serious living. But half the viewers are from outside the UK, just wanting an on-the-ground explanation for why we seem to have gone insane. And the other half are spread all over the place. So the chances of me being recognised in my much quieter part of the country than London is very remote. But if you talk about Brexit a lot, and then you go to an event with about 15,000 people, all with a keen interest in Brexit, there is just a chance someone will notice you. Yes, I was noticed. Oh my goodness, lots of people came up to me. It was a most unusual experience. I met a lot of viewers yesterday. Apologies if there were others who didn't find me, but it was quite a remarkable day. It was a day when the national news seemed to be mainly full of our Brexit government tearing themselves apart again and of rejoiners coming together, which the media didn't seem that interested in. You know, there were speakers from the European Parliament, from our own Parliament, a member of the House of Lords there, from groups and activists around the country. But there we are anyway. You know, if you were there, let me know what you thought of the day. I'm not an experienced marcher or protester, so I can't really compare it to too much else. But it seemed very well organised, very well attended. I was very tired at the end of it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below anyway. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.